All right, NBA card. There's some interesting spots. So I was on the Score earlier this morning, and they were baffled by the number. And I'm sure you'll be chuckling along on this one. I know what your reaction. I think I know what your reaction is going to be. They couldn't understand why the Bulls were 14.5 to 15-point dogs against the Boston
Oh,
Celtics. You'll remember the Celtics. They lost outright to the Rockets the other night after their long road trip. We were playing the Rockets on that one. We had an angle there. And now they're laying 14.5 at home against the Bulls. All the chatter around the Bulls is Levine going to be traded? What about Vooch? What are they going to do in the next week? And the Bulls had a shocking win the other day over the Denver Nuggets. I don't
oh
get it.
yeah.
14 and a half. I don't understand.
Hmm.
Levine is out. So that is certainly noteworthy. That has a lot to do with this number. Tatum listed as questionable for the C's, and Kobe White questionable for the Bulls.
Okay, so we have to pay attention, obviously, to Tatum because Tatum being in, this line would float a little bit more. I didn't check the status of Tatum. Is he listed as what, questionable or game time? Like, what are they calling Tatum
I
right
saw
now?
question. They said
Okay,
questionable.
I can search for a player real quick. Give me a second. Okay, so if he's in, here we go. Jason Tatum knee questionable to play against Chicago. So that's sort of not a halfway number, but it's close. It comes down more if he's out than it goes up if he's in, right? I think we're both on the same page there. So if they roll Jason Tatum in, could be 16. If Jason Tatum is out, maybe like 13, 12 and a half. Like people will just come in and bet Chicago.
Yeah.
People will look on the
Mm-hmm.
ticker or look at their phone and get a notification, Jason Tatum out. If it happens, it hasn't happened yet, but if it happens, people are going to go, Bulls, and bet the Bulls. So you play defense against Tatum being out. Now I need to shoot a couple texts during the break and see what's up. Because I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't realize he was questionable. I assumed he was in.
Yeah, I mean, I saw questionable yesterday, and I don't think there's been an update from what I've seen on that.
Okay.
So there's a little bit on the Bulls because it was 15 yesterday. Now we're sitting 14.5. But look, for the last 3.5 weeks, the Celtics have been win, lost, win. It's been a mediocre season for their standards. Obviously they're going to end up with probably a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, but it's not the same. You've been watching it closer than I have, but it's clearly not the same. And the players have been talking about just that. And so them laying that big number, but it makes sense for them to get right. I'll say that. They get home from the road trip. They had a loss, and it's not a garbage Rockets team. Houston's damn good. Well, they're a top 2 seed right now in the Western Conference, and they're on a great roll, taking out the Cavs a couple of times. So they're expecting a bounce back. Part of my answer was they probably want some damn Bulls money too, because a lot of people are going to bet on the Celtics after they lose.
Yes. I saw this the other day. Now, I don't believe this fits into the narrative because the Celtics didn't lose by more than 20, right? Against the Rockets. Wasn't that a closer game? But they
Oh,
did
it was a
lose.
buzzer beater.
Okay. But there was a game last Thursday, when they got drubbed by the Lakers. Okay. And this is
Mm-hmm.
something worth following. I know that trends don't pay the rent, but sometimes they can help. So, according to Sportsbook Breakers, the Celtics are now 10-0 overall and 10-0 straight up since May 21, coming off a loss by more than 20. And the Lakers pounded them on Thursday. On Saturday, the Celtics pounded the Mavericks. So
Yep.
when you get the Celtics, I know this is different because it wasn't a blowout loss, but that's something to think about. Last 3.5 years, give or take, the Celtics, well, let's see, it's May 20. Yeah, 3.5 years. This is May 2021. Celtics now 10-0 straight up and 10-0 ATS, coming off a loss by 20 points or more. Now, why am I saying that now? Because it doesn't really apply today. I don't know. But just keep in mind, next time the Celtics get blown out, you come back on them the next game.
That's a good angle. I like that. It just makes sense with all the talent that they have that they're going to be able to bounce back there. Okay, so we were talking about Phillies 76ers. They win last night at home as a dog. It was a comfortable victory over the Lakers. You figured that they would be up for that game. Now, AD gets injured in the first quarter. Certainly that had something to do with the result. Maxey goes off in the game, scores 43. LeBron had a good game overall, but he also had 8 turnovers in that one. But this is more about the Philly angle. So they've got a back-to-back. Tonight they're hosting Sacramento. They're a large underdog to the Kings. And then yesterday, it's the time of the year where there's just all this noise. And how much do you trust the team to forget all that and go play hard for the game? But De'Aaron Fox, he might be traded by next Thursday now. That story came out yesterday with the Sacramento Kings. But the Kings laying a big number on the road. In this spot, I would not take Philly. It would be Kings or nothing for me. They listed Paul George questionable in this one.
NBA Joe, Kings,
Yeah.
doing
Possible Kings. Possible Kings. Here's the other angle I was looking at. So there are 2 teams that have not played in quite some time. That was the Paris trip. So you had Sacramento and Indiana. They have had the last 3 days off due to travel. Okay, that makes perfect sense. They played 2 games over there. They split. Both were just wipeouts, right? They're blowout victories. I think Indiana won the first one. San Antonio won the second one. But my angle is Wemby. His head had to be spinning on this trip. The entire trip was based on a celebration of Wemby and, being from Paris and that whole thing. And every story you read, Wemby this, Wemby that. You get away from it for a couple of days. They had the long trip back, obviously. And the league did him right, gave him that extra time. But I'm wondering if we should sit here and fade San Antonio tonight. After the Paris trip, after everything that Wemby, he had to have a million obligations. And you've got the Clippers, 3.5-point favorites at San Antonio tonight. I'm thinking this is a good fade Spurs spot. What do you think?
The market is definitely agreeing with you. It opened at 3 overnight. It got to 3.5 right away. Now it's 4, and BetMGM has 4.5. So the market definitely agrees anti San Antonio.
Yeah.
I'm not in the lab, but I'm thinking about entering the lab on Boston just to blow the doors off the Bulls.
I knew you would. I knew
Yeah,
it.
I have to now.
I knew you'd get
I
there.
didn't
The
think
more and
that
more you
coming
thought
in,
about
but
it. Yeah.
like to act like that number isn't right or that it's too high is just silly because if the Celtics gave a damn tonight, they could name their score.
You can smoke them. And no Levine. Who are you going to? And the Bulls have no defense. They're going to play at a high pace. The Celtics, you're right. They could probably name their score. Now, they've played 3 times this year. Bulls beat them once. Celtics, obviously, the other 2. One was a blowout. They came to the United Center, won by 25, I think, in one game. And one was sort of competitive. So that's how you get to this number.
I mean,
It's a
you
good
could look
spot for
up
the
at
Celtics.
halftime. You could look up at halftime
Yeah.
and it could be 60-32.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
When I saw the number, I was like, whoa, I had that same first reaction. That's what they want. They want you to come and give them some Bulls money. Go
They
ahead.
want you,
Team
just
that
like
just
they
won.
wanted you to give you, they wanted the Minnesota money yesterday in college. Oh, Minnesota's won 3 in a row. Minnesota's getting, now it's 14. Now it's 15. These big numbers are big for a reason, man. That's why the highest totals are high for a reason and the biggest spreads are big for a reason. They know. They know what could happen.
100%. And, it mentioned Indiana, the other team that came back from Paris. I don't have a play on it. Last few days off. They return to action tonight. They are hosting the Pistons, but they're a 6.5-point favorite. So, bit of a different situation as far as that goes. San Antonio, they're the dog at home, and then the Pacers, they're a 6.5-point favorite.